Yo, bendiciones, what up everybody? This is El Conquistador back with another video. Happy Saturday. It's a beautiful day today. So, as per my elders, I gotta say this disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and always talk to your elders as to what it is I'm talking about. As far as you're concerned, everything that's coming out of my mouth, nothing's factual, and it's all opinion. So, talk to your elders. Okay, that's out of the way. So I want to talk about an interesting topic. I always try and touch on topics that no one else talks about. Everybody always talks about the beauty and whatnot. Is it possible to have, or I would say be a part of an ile that is too big? Is it possible to have an ile that is too big? Keep in mind, I myself do not have my own ile. Meaning, I don't have anybody initiated. I have not given nobody their necklaces or warriors, initiated anybody. I never scratched anybody. I don't have no initiations. I've never initiated anybody in anything in my entire life, okay? Is it possible to join an ile that's too big? And is it possible to have an ile that's too big? So, let me answer the first question. Purely, so there's a santera by the name of Aurora Lamar Agayu Obactola, the Pimienta line. Most people trace their lineage back to Pimienta. That's how expansive it is. Of course, you got people, the Mioneros, the Coral, Culo Verde, Trapito, which also comes from Aurora. There's like ramas, there's branches, and then there's sub-branches. I'm not going to get into that. But for the most part, a lot of people can trace back to Pimiento. Pimienta? Atare. I can't remember my Spanish. I don't know. Pimiento, Pimienta, I think it's Pimiento. La Rama Atare, okay? So this woman, Aurora Lamar, reportedly had 100 plus god kids. Some say hundreds of god kids, which is the contributing factor as to how and why the Pimienta Atare line has grown so vast across the world. And most people can trace their lineage back to Atare. But my question is, how many of her god kids actually knew as much as her? Let's put it into today's perspective. Have we not all met santeros today, which I certainly have, that boast about, I got 50 plus people crowned, and I have 20 Yawoses this year. I got 10 plus Yawoses this year, and that makes me have 90, 75 initiations under my belt. And these many people with necklaces, and these many people with warriors, and these many people crowned. But when you dive deeper, you notice one thing. It's a little off topic, but you notice one thing. They got like 50 plus god kids, but every time I'm around them, it's like the same 3 to 5 people that are always up their ass. But the other 45, 65 people plus are just never around, and no one ever questions that. That's something to keep concerned about. It's definitely a topic I want to touch on. That's a red flag. But having a big house, like the idea of joining a big house, what's the advantages and disadvantages? The advantages is the person has like a factory of sorts going, an initiation factory, which means things run smoothly because there's people, this person can initiate back to back, and they got Yawoses for days, and they got initiations for days. What's the downside to that? If you look at a santero, think about your own experiences, and a person's got 50 plus initiations under the belt, and they got all these god kids. How many of those god kids are actually knowledgeable? How many of the 50 plus god kids that they got can actually moyuba correctly? That can actually omitutu correctly? That can actually throw coconut correctly? That can actually sacrifice their own animals to their own orisha correctly? That could do the prayers, the orikis and all that jazz correctly? How many can rogate someone's head correctly? How many can actually work in Ocharum correctly? Without having to be codependent on the godparent. Because, you know, you could be here all day. I could be here all day. Let me just initiate 50 people and come be El Conquistador's godchild. But you notice today that you got like Santeros with like 50 plus god kids, but they usually have an inner circle of about 5, usually like one right hand man, woman that just knows everything, and then the other god kids fall to the wayside. People work, people have jobs, we're living in new times, people have god kids in other states and countries and whatnot, so that's understandable. But I've seen the effects of seeing people in houses that are, in my opinion, too big, because now everybody's clamoring for the attention, for the knowledge of the elder. So how much does a person actually know? I've seen with my own eyes a house that was, in my opinion, too big, and none of the god's kids know shit. A whole lot of initiations going on like clockwork, like it's a Ford assembly line. I call them assembly line ochas, where they just crank out initiation after initiation, and they do so with pride. And the people, they don't know shit. The person getting initiated, they don't know shit. However many years later, they still don't know shit. Because the godparent doesn't have time, or the godchild just leaves the house. You know, these are things to take into account and be like, word, though, how come this person got like 50 god kids always towing off about, and they're so proud about the amount of initiations that they got under the belt, but ain't nobody around. And from the few people I've spoken to, there are people that have left this house. So either the godparent's wrong or the godchild's wrong. But I don't see any of these people that they keep saying they crowned. Where are their Yawoses? They got Yawoses somewhere out there in the world, and where the hell are they? I never seen them come around. They got god kids. I never seen them around. I think it's possible to have too many god kids because at the end of the day, you're only one person. And yes, everything is a two-way street. The god kid has to make the time to come over. The godparent has to make the time to teach. So it's a two-way street, like always, like anything. But I definitely think it is possible to have a house that is too big, and the proof is in the pudding. How much do you actually know? If you're in a house that got 50 plus god kids, how much do you actually know? Or if you're thinking about joining a house that has a whole lot of god kids, and you think, oh, yo, it's so cool. They must be this Super Saiyan god of Santeros, because they keep talking about how they got 50 something god kids, and they're cranking out ochas day and night, and they got Yawoses for days. But no one knows anything. Take notice that sometimes just as fast and just as eager and as fast that this ocha factory moves, and there's just ocha, the cariochas initiations being cranked out at a ridiculous speed, like every 2 weeks there's a new, just crank them out, crank out the cariochas. Let's get these people crowned. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Take notice at just as fast as initiations are getting done and going in, take notice as just how fast those same people getting initiated are also leaving. Because the easier they come, the easier they go. I've met Santeros that take so much pride in the amount of god kids that they have that sometimes a person makes it sound like it's a competition of sorts. Like they have just a goal, like they want to reach 100. That just seems wrong to me, because we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about people's faiths. Like, you have people's lives and faiths in your hand. I spoke about it in a past video, but after my initiation, after my cariocha, my faith has not been the same. And, I'm going up on year 2 this August of being crowned Obatala. after my initiation, my faith has never been the same again. So it's important to keep in mind as, you know, at some point, if I ever get that calling to be a godparent to somebody else, I have to keep in mind that it's not just another initiation, just let's crank out and this is crank them out. Like Ford vehicles back in the friggin' 20s, 40s, whatever the hell it was. Assembly line noches. I have to keep in mind, like, I have this person's life in my hands. I have this person's faith in my hands. I have this person's spiritual well-being in my hands. So I definitely think that's super duper important to keep in mind that if I have a house, if I have me, El Conquistador, have a house with 100 God kids, and we got 10 Yawoses this year, how much time and nurturing can I give to my Yawoses if I have freaking 10 in 1 year? If I have 50 God kids out there in the world, how much, honestly, how much nurturing, compassion, knowledge can I give from my own cup? How much, if I have water in my cup and mine's full because I'm ready to crown someone, and I got 10 other cups, how much, I can't fill anybody's cup. So for me, I rather have a small number of God kids so I can really fill up that person's cup, as opposed to having 100 and I can only give a drop to each one. Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to touch on. That it's not a competition. I've met santeros that really, this is my, however many, like usually the number's like 50, you know, like God kids. And people make it seem like it's a competition of sorts. And it's like, it's a rite of passage to have 100 or 50 plus God kids. I'd rather have 10 loyal, very knowledgeable God kids that know their shit and that are not codependent on me at all. And as a matter of fact, know more than me and surpass me over the span of 20 years than try to rack up as many Yawoses and initiations that I can in a short amount of time, just so I can say I got a bunch of initiations under my belt. That's what makes sense to me. But let me know what your thoughts are. Is there such thing as having too big of a house, having too many God kids, being too quick to crown people or initiate people? Are there dangers as a godchild or prospective godchild of joining a house that's super duper big? Are there advantages of joining a house that's super duper big? Disadvantages? You know, just weighing it out, and just let's have conversations in the comment section below. Peace out.